Guys, so let's discuss what are the effects of family issues such as divorce or domestic violence on children's mental well being, right? So, family issues, including divorce and domestic violence, can profoundly affect children's mental well being, right? Often leading to, let's say, long term psychological effects, right? These experiences can disrupt a child's sense of security and stability, significantly impacting their emotional and developmental growth, right? The effects of these family issues can vary widely among children, influenced by factors such as their age, personality, the level of parental support, and the presence of additional stress or protective factors, right? So, now let's discuss the effects of divorce on children, right? So, the first one is emotional and behavioral issues, right? Children going through their parents' divorce may experience a wide range of emotional responses, including sadness, anger, confusion, and anxiety, right? These emotions can manifest in behavioral issues such as aggression, there can be withdrawal, difficulties in school, and changes in sleeping or eating. For example, a child may become more irritable and act out in school due to the stress of their changing family dynamics, struggling to concentrate on their studies or maintain their previous academic performance, right? So that happens. Now, the second aspect is attachment and relationship issues, right? So divorce can affect a child's ability to form and maintain healthy relationships, right? They may develop attachment issues, fearing abandonment or struggling with trust in their personal relationships, right? So a teenager, for instance, might find it hard to open up to others and build intimate relationships, carrying the fear of being hurt or abandoned as they have experienced it in their family life altogether, right? So let's look at long term effects, right? So research indicates that children of divorced parents may face long term challenges, including higher risks of experiencing their own relationship difficulties, lower educational attainment, and let's say increased susceptibility to mental health issues such as depression or anxiety, right? An adult who experienced their parents divorce as a child might have a more cynical view of marriage and commitment, right? Potentially affecting their own romantic relationships, right? So that also happens. Now let's look at effects of domestic violence on children, right? So the first one is psychological trauma. So witnessing or being a victim of domestic violence is traumatic for children and can lead to post traumatic stress disorder, which is also called as PTSD, anxiety and depression, right? Children who grow up in violent homes may experience nightmares, flashbacks, and severe anxiety, constantly feeling unsafe even in their absence of any immediate danger, right? For instance, a young child who witnesses a parent being abused may develop intense fears and anxieties, showing signs of distress like bedwetting or clinging behavior, right? So that happens. Now, the second aspect could be behavioral and academic problems, right? Exposure to domestic violence is linked to increased aggression, antisocial behavior, and difficulties in school, right? Children living in these environments, basically they may struggle with concentration, show decreased academic performance, or display aggressive behaviors towards their peers, right? That also happens, stemming from their experiences of conflict and aggression at home, right? So the third aspect could be impact on physical health, right? So the stress of living in a violent household can also have physical effects on children, including increased risk of developing a chronic condition like heart disease, obesity, and diabetes in later life, right? The constant stress and anxiety can lead to sleep disturbances, changes in appetite, and weakened immune system as well, making them more susceptible to illnesses, right? So that also happens. So now let's look at the fourth aspect, which is emotional and social development, right? So children exposed to domestic violence may have difficulty regulating their emotions and exhibit signs of emotional numbness or heightened sensitivity to perceived threats, right? Socially, they might struggle with forming and maintaining friendships, often due to difficulties trusting others or interpreting social cues correctly, right? So basically, family issues, notably divorce and domestic violence, can deeply impact a child's mental well being, leading to a range of psychological effects that may extend to adulthood as well, right? So now let's discuss the effects with examples to provide a richer understanding of this concept, right? So the first one is, let's say, emotional instability and anxiety, right? So for example, after the divorce of their parents, 8-year-old Mia began experiencing severe separation anxiety, right? She feared being left alone, or that one of her parents wouldn't return if they left the house, right? Leading to panic attacks and difficulty sleeping alone, right? So that's the first example. So second could be behavioral changes, right? So let's look at an example, right? So a 10-year-old Jack, previously outgoing and engaged in school, became increasingly withdrawn and aggressive following his exposure to domestic violence at home, right? His teachers noticed a significant drop in participation and an increase in physical altercations with peers, right? So the third aspect could be impact on academic performance, right? So let's look at from one example wherein a girl named Lily, a straight A student, saw her grades plummet in the months during her parents' contentious divorce proceedings, right? She found very hard to concentrate on her studies, often forgetting assignments or struggling to stay focused in class due to the stress at home, right? So that is there. The fourth aspect was, let's say, increased risk of mental disorders, right? So here let's take an example of a guy named Sam, right, who grew up in a household where domestic violence was prevalent, developed symptoms of PTSD by the age of 12, right, including flashbacks, night terrors, and severe anxiety, especially in situations that reminded him of home conflicts, right? Let's look at the fifth effect, which is difficulty in forming and maintaining relationships, right? So the example could be Eva, a teenager whose parents went through a bitter divorce. She started exhibiting trust issues in her personal relationships, right? She often expected friends to choose sides and had difficulty believing that relationships could be stable and lasting, right? So that's it. Now let's look at the sixth aspect, which is lower self-esteem and body image issues, right? So here we could see that an example wherein following his parents' divorce, 15-year-old Ethan developed low self-esteem, right, attributing the separation to his perceived inadequacies, right? He started engaging in negative self-talk and exhibited disordered eating behaviors as a way to gain control over one aspect of his life, right? Now let's look at the seventh aspect, which is increased likelihood of substance abuse, right? So here the example could be, let's say, exposed to domestic violence and lacking a stable support system. 17-year-old Zoe turned to alcohol and drugs as a means to escape her emotional pain, right, leading to substance dependence issues, right? The eighth aspect could be developmental delays, right? So here you can see as an example that a 3-year-old Noah, she is living in a home with ongoing domestic violence, showed signs of developmental delays, right, particularly in speech and social skills, right? he was less verbal than his peers and often played alone, right, showing anxiety in group settings, right? So that's there. Now let's look at the ninth aspect, which is physical health and health problems, right? So here, let's take an example of Emily, a child who witnessed to this domestic violence, developed chronic headaches and stomach aches, right, with no medical cause identified, right? So these were later understood to be manifestations of a stress and anxiety, right? So yeah, that's there. Now let's look at the 10th aspect, which is suicidal ideation and behaviors, right? Take an example of Kevin, a 16-year-old guy with the aftermath of his parents' divorce and ongoing conflict at home, began experiencing depressive symptoms leading to suicidal thoughts, right? He felt hopeless about the future and isolated from his peers and family, right? So I can conclude this by saying that these all examples, right, they underscore the profound impact family issues can have on children's mental well-being, right? So it's crucial for caregivers, educators and mental health professionals to basically recognize these signs and provide that appropriate support and interventions to help mitigate these effects and promote resilience in affected children, right? So that's very important, right? So now the impact of family issues like divorce and domestic violence on children's mental well-being, it underscores the importance of providing these supportive and stable environments for children to thrive altogether, right? So this interventions such as therapy, support groups and educational programs can help mitigate these effects, offering children the tools to basically cope with their experiences and fostering resilience, right? So it is crucial for parents, educators and mental health professionals to be aware of the signs of distress in children and to provide the necessary support and interventions to help them navigate these challenging experiences, right? So I hope all of you all like this video specifically on this particular issue, and I hope all of you all will enjoy more such videos which would be coming forth, right? So please do subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot guys for watching this.